Yep, we didn't see the footage to see whether they were read the riot act here today, as we've seen in the other classes, but I don't suppose they've been let off. And if we go through the grid now, as you'll see on the screen, in pole position, we saw the interview with Paolo Di Conto, very happy driver. Alongside him is one of the Markkanen twins, Rasmus Markkanen. Second row sees Roop Markkanen, his brother, and Cesar Enyo, although he was having an issue in warm-up this morning. Hopefully he's managed to get that resolved. He had to sneak back into the pits as it progressed. Max Hoffer and Mark Lupfer take up the third row. In seventh is Igor Mukin, the first of the Masters in this race. Maxi Fleischmann in eighth position. On the fifth row is Pascal Carrigier and Alessio Curto. Row 6 is Lorenzo Van Rie, and the second of the Masters, Tamsin Germain. On the seventh row is Kawase Tomikazu, the Japanese Masters driver, and Philip Siwa. And on the eighth and final row is two of the Masters, Gezar Fodor and Martin Pierce. Martin, remember, he won the Masters here last year, and he's going to hope that he's able to get himself up through the grid from the eighth and final row, starting in 16th position. So that is your grid for the first of the DD2 heats. This is the A versus B group, and it might be slightly smaller than the last two grids, but I don't think the action's going to be any less frantic and exciting.
I don't think it is indeed, because DD2 normally put on a great show as well, and they've been racing for quite a few years, so they know how to handle these karts. They of course keep it as clean as possible, and just as we said, a little bit more up in the ranks and coming towards the end of their karting career as such, before they look to move on to cars maybe, or just have a little bit more fun.
Well, you say that, you know, you've got Gezar Fodor, what's he, the ripe old age of 35, still younger than me, but it means that he can keep going for a good while, which is nice to see. Although it was interesting to see that as these guys came into Parc Ferme after their qualifying, these were the ones that stretched and cracked their bones a little bit more as they recovered from the session.
Want to be back in bed, didn't they, probably? So the karts make their way down towards the final bit of the hairpin down at turn number 10, and this is the final chance for them to get into some sort of formation. They'll line up side by side. They'll slow the pace right down now, and they'll get themselves ready for this 11-lap heat, their first of the day. A busy day ahead of them as always, and of course Paolo Di Conto here at his home circuit is ready to get this race up and going with Rasmus Markkanen alongside. Rasmus is racing with his brother Roop, who's just behind him on the grid. We're ready to go then as they come through their grid hatchings. The red lights are on. There's a few towards the back who are not quite caught up yet. They've slowed down now. They look towards the lights which go out, and away we go for racing. And what a start there from Paolo Di Conto. There was a bit of squeezing going on before turn 1, before they even got underway, but Paolo Di Conto has judged the start to perfection. He leads by a few kart lengths already as they work their way through turns 2 and 3. Up there in second place is Roop Markkanen, and it looks like a good start as well. Not such a good start, in fact, for the man a little bit lower down there. It looks like Rasmus Markkanen has in fact lost out, so not good at all, as the rest of the field work their way through safely. No contact and no dramas so far on the first half of the lap. A little bit of a move there being made from a little bit lower down. Lorenzo Van Rie may have been one of those to come through, but look at that lead up front. It's Paolo Di Conto who leads.
Second and third, I think, has just swapped there, so we'll have to wait and see exactly which drivers that were running in second and third there. Because that really has shifted around. One of them got pushed onto the grass as they came down along the straight. Rather dominant lead there from Paolo Di Conto. Roop Markkanen, I think it is. No, Max Hoffer's got himself up to second. So that was down at the restaurant corner, turn number 7. Dived up the inside. Max Hoffer moved himself up into second position from 5th on the grid, Matt. That's a heck of an opening lap.
That was a great move there, wasn't it, for him to get his way through. It looks like the two brothers are having a good scrap now for 3rd and 4th places. Roop ahead of Rasmus as they head their way off the back straight. We've got Cesar Enio up in 5th place, trying to look a bit racy as well to get his moves done at turns 7 and 8, but he can't quite do the job for now. So they work their way down towards the hairpin, and in doing so, is there any changes? Not this time. It still remains as it was. It's the scrap for 4th place that's going on, and a move there. Down the inside goes Cesar Enio, so great job there for Cesar to get through by the looks of it. In fact, there may be someone else trying to work their way through, and maybe Lorenzo Van Rie again, who's working his way through the field here. 6.56, and does Lorenzo jump up? Yes, he does. He moves ahead of Cesar Enio, who drops down to 7th place.
Interesting that Rasmus Markkanen, second on the grid, is now down to 4th position and a long way back from his brother, so they're not joined together anymore. Whether that is a deliberate ploy, could there be teamwork going on here, just holding up the rest of the pack? Not sure I'd want to be the one thrown to the lions like that on a circuit like this, though.
Not at all, no, you've got to stay out of trouble as much as possible. There's been another change for 6th place because Cesar Enio has got himself back ahead of Igor Mukin, who leads the Masters class. So a great start for Igor as well. So watch out for him really mixing it with inside the top 8 positions at the minute. But it's the fight for second that comes through the final corner now. Max Hoffa, who is there at the minute, the blue and white machine with Root marking him right on his tail at the minute. Rasmus Markkinen sits at what's going to be in 4th place. And then, of course, the train of karts continues with the likes of Lorenzo Van Riet, Cesar Enio, who's just dropped back on this lap now into the clutches of 629, which is Igor Mukin, and Pascal Kage is there in 8th place.
And what a great performance by Igor Mukin that you mentioned then, the lead of the Masters, right in the mix with the seniors of the DD2 class, and it's really mixing it up and fighting all the way through.
As always, lots going on lower down the field as well, just trying to pick out where the rest of the Masters runners are. Tamsin Germain is 11th and 2nd in class. We've got the likes of Martin Pierce from the back of the grid up into 3rd in class, 12th place overall, so watch out for him at the minute. I'll just go away from that for a minute because 2nd place is hotting up once again because under pressure now is going to be Max Hoffa. He's got the 2 Markkinens right on his tail down towards turn 1. Roop goes through, Rasmussen follows as well, and both of them now have got themselves up into 2nd and 3rd places. It doesn't take long, does it? The 2 brothers working together and they've got themselves up now ahead of Max Hoffa.
Yeah, so that did all change. I said that Rasmus had actually dropped away from Root, but no, they were back together and they both went out. Interesting when we were talking to Ed Brand is that the general thing is if you're overtaking up the inside and you find yourself out on that bump, you're just as well to just get yourself out of it and drop back in line and live to fight another day, basically. That's what happened. He was hung out to dry, and Max Hoffa finds himself back in, 4th position now.
That's right, you may as well just let it go and try and work throughout the rest of the race to try and claw yourself back into those positions you've just lost, and that's what Max Hoffa is now doing. He's only lost 2 places, which isn't as bad as it could have been if the pack was a little bit more closely bunched there, but Max is now into 4th place. Lorenzo Van Riet is still there in what's going to be 5th place, and the 2 behind catching as well, Cesar Enio and Masters leader Igor Mukin as well. They turn their way on towards the right-hander at turn 5, and it looks like now Roop is just pulling away slightly here from his brother Rasmus, so the gap does extend slightly, but look out front, Paolo Di Conto, we thought he'd be quick, but not this quick. 3.3 seconds he leads by. It's
absolutely incredible. I mean, it's an interesting thing. Home track, as we've said, home country. Came 2nd in the Winter Cup. He won here in 2014, so a great here last year. And his peers saying that he's probably the best driver around this circuit. Well, they're not wrong, are they? I mean, this is just incredible to just leave everybody behind to this level. What's the gap this time as they go across the line? Wait for the timing to update. It's 3.7 seconds. I mean, that is just domination. But the brothers are not managing to shake off Max Hoffa, are they? Because Max Hoffa's desperately trying to find a little smidgen of a gap that he can dive up the inside.
The 2 brothers have just changed places though, so Rasmus now gets ahead of Roop. Here comes Max, all the bumping and barging down towards turn number 6. He was looking to get through. That does now mean that Roop has to go defensive in towards turn 7. And look at Lorenzo Van Riet as well, now into the mix. What can he do about getting himself through here? The defensive moves now come at the hairpin, and somehow Rasmus is managing, in fact Roop is managing to hold on from those behind. It gets bigger and bigger now. The train of karts builds up as they head their way down towards the final corners at turns 11 and 12. It does mean, as we said, that Rasmus is up into 2nd place. Roop now sits there in 3rd place, but how much longer for? They head down towards turn number 1 and the attack continues to come, although Roopy has just managed now to pull away. As under attack there is Max Hoffa, and Lorenzo Van Riet gets up into 4th place.
I think that was the big thing I noticed, that Max Hoffa desperately tried the moves through turn 7, 8 and probably into 9 as well, and it meant that he was then compromised. He wasn't able to make the move stick, and so the karts behind him were then right on his tail and all over him. He tried it, he didn't make it, and it put him in the clutches of those behind.
And Lorenzo Van Riet is not really getting away now because Max Hoffa will try to attack back. Another move being made there, and looks to be Cesar Enio going down the inside of the Masters class leader Igor Mukin. So Cesar on home soil here gets himself now up into 6th place. Paolo Di Conto goes through for the 8th time of asking, and he's going to lead by 4.2 seconds. What a lap there from Paolo. But look at the 2 brothers behind, our quickest of the race. 48.5 for Rasmus and a 48.5 as well for Roop in 3rd place. So they're now picking up that speed, and they are in fact quicker than Paolo Di Conto that time round. So the gap does briefly go back towards 4 seconds.
I noticed that Paolo Di Conto, fastest man out there, got the fastest lap of the race so far, but it's about half a second slower than his qualifying time. I know he's not needing to push it quite so much, but does that give us an indication on the track conditions out there potentially as well?
Yeah, it could well do, but Paolo Zaconto doesn't really need to push, does he? As you said, he's kind of out there in front. He's done the hard part, the early part of this race, so now he can just sit back, relax, and take himself to the checker flag with what's going to be 2 laps to go for 4th place. Here we go once more with Lorenzo Van Wright and Max Hoffa down towards turn 1. That gap not too big at the minute, so there could be another chance for Max Hoffa to work his way back past into 4th place. And then there's a slight gap back to now Cesar Ennio in 6th place, who's just dropped off the tail there.
Interesting fight that was taking shape through the last few corners there was 622 Mark Lupfer and 654 Alessio Curto for 9th and 10th. They did swap round, but they were basically trying to go side by side through at least 2 of the corners then. Not very often you can pull that off.
No, they've kept it clean, which is always good to say. So those two continue their fight as well. Down towards the hairpin at turn number 9. We're about to see the last lap board here for Paolo Zaconto, who works his way through turn number 12 and on towards the start-finish line. Paolo has just over 1,200 metres now to go before this lap is completed. The top 5 now across the line onto that last lap as well. And there's no real battles evolving towards the end here, so it's all kind of settled down on this now, the 11th lap of the race. Just to draw your attention to Masters once again, Agi Mukin is your leader, 2nd is still Tamsin Germain, and 3rd from the back, Martin Pearce.
I still think that Max Hoffa's not done yet. He's kind of pretty much all over the back of 4th position Lorenzo Van Wright. The brothers have disappeared ahead in front of them. We already know Zaconto has, doing a great performance, but I still wonder, is Max Hoffa going to have one last dive? They're going around turn number 9, heading down towards turn 10, but probably not close enough as our leader comes down to take a fabulous, just faultless victory there. Through he comes, cracking performance by Paolo Zaconto. Then the brothers come across, line astern. Pretty much a demonstration finish by those two. Lorenzo Van Wright did manage to stay ahead of Max Hoffa. In fact, managed to pull out nearly a second gap on that last lap. Cesar Ennio, good to see the problems we saw in the heat earlier didn't cause too much of an issue. He comes home in 6th position. 7th was Igor Mukin, that was the leader of the Masters as well. 8th, Pascal Carigier, the Swiss driver. 9th, Mark Lupfer. 10th was Alessio Curto. 11th was Tamsin Germain, 2nd in the Masters as well. 12th, Maxi Fleischmann. 13th, great drive by Martin Pearce there, and that puts him 3rd in the Masters. 14th was Philip Sewer. 15th for Kawaza Tomokazu. Didn't quite go to plan there for the Japanese Masters driver. And then just rounding out the 16th position was Gezar Fodor.